Hello, I'm Aaron Kaufman with the Jewish Federations of North America. The ADA, Americans with Disabilities Act, a landmark civil rights law, was signed into law by President George H.W. Bush on July 26, 1990. The ADA does many things, but I'm going to discuss a few highlights during our time together. A major component of the ADA is that it requires employers to provide reasonable accommodations to employees with disabilities. It requires that state and local government facilities be accessible. That's why you may have seen pool lifts at county pools. And most importantly, it requires public accommodations to be accessible. Now you may ask, what's a public accommodation? But that's things like restaurants, movie theaters, amusement parks, libraries, etc. As a person with a disability, the ADA transformed my life. Thanks to the ADA, when I travel, there's an accessible hotel room. I can go to the restaurant and the movies with my friend, and so much more. I'm so grateful to President Bush and the bipartisan group of lawmakers that made the ADA happen. Happy birthday, ADA.
Hi, my name is Susa Roscoe, and I'm a 20-year-old young Hispanic male in a wheelchair, with short black hair and glasses on. And as a member of United Methodist Church, I'm grateful for this opportunity to tell you what the American with Disability Act means to me. When I was born with spina bifida, my parents knew I had many challenges ahead of me. Some of them would be medical, others would be living life's journey in a wheelchair, when this world was specifically designed for those who aren't in one. But thanks to the ADA, these challenges weren't the end of the story. We may still have a lot of work to do to ensure the barriers to the means of human striving are removed. But we have the ADA to help get that work done. My faith profession says that God made every member of the human family equally in the image of the divine, each with differing gifts needed for the whole. And that's what I want you to know about why I'm thankful for the ADA. It says to me and others with disabilities that our needs aren't special, because there's nothing special about needing transportation, work, education, civil participation, and the economy. Expecting access to these such things isn't special. It's a right, a civil right, a human right. The ADA affirms that being in a wheelchair doesn't make me any less deserving of the same opportunities as everyone else. I am too a full member of the society with gifts to contribute, and it gives me hope. I can look forward for a future personal and a professional growth. I can enjoy life, going out with friends, and enjoying God's good creation that I wouldn't be able to do without the ADA. The United Methodist Book of Resolution urges everyone to prevail alongside with people with disabilities of the pursuit of human rights. With the help of the ADA, we aspire to do a more equitable society for all. Thank you.
My name is Eileen Schofield, and I live in Washington. I live at Lush. I'm a friendship builder, and I do cards, mailing, and sending out mail.
So when you think about trying to get inside places with your friends who use wheelchairs, what do you think would make it better for them?
They need a ramp.
Yeah. Or an elevator.
And an elevator. They're doing a good job.
I am Cheryl Wicks, Mosaic's Associate Vice President of Government Relations. Mosaic is a national healthcare organization providing services to over 5,200 people with diverse needs across 13 states and in more than 750 communities. Accessible housing for those we support with intellectual and developmental disabilities is lacking across the country. It is costly to complete home modifications without additional funding and resources. Not all people with disabilities have a committed provider like Deb does in her provider of Gretchen. When Gretchen and her husband were building a new house, they designed it with Deb's needs in mind. "We tried to think of everything," Gretchen said. Deb has privacy, her own spaces, a roll-in shower, wall-mounted sinks, rampless entryways, and even an office where she can use her computer and visit with family and friends. "I feel so independent," is what Deb says. Please consider additional resources for accessible housing so that people can live more freely in their own community.
I'm Rabbi Jonah Pesner, the director of the Religious Action Center of Reform Judaism, the largest and most diverse denomination in Jewish life. Breaking down barriers of opportunity for people with disabilities is core to the Reform Jewish movement's work of building a world of compassion, justice, and wholeness. Jewish tradition teaches us of our obligation to ensure equal access for all people and to help facilitate the full participation of individuals with disabilities in public life. In Leviticus 19:14, we are commanded, "You shall not insult the deaf or place a stumbling block before the blind." Stumbling blocks come in many, many forms. Unequal access or subpar educational and employment opportunities, stigma and discrimination, lack of accessible housing and transportation, and lack of access to health care. Further, in Pirkei Avot 2:5, we are taught, "Do not separate yourself from the community." Due to systemic barriers, many people living with disabilities are consistently excluded from the community. The ADA was an important step towards removing these barriers and allowing access to community, but there is much left to be done. We look to our elected officials to enact further legislation that will break down these barriers and promote full access and inclusion.
Assalamu alaikum, greetings of peace. Your brother in faith and humanity, Safed Abed Chadovich, coming to you from my backyard in central Jersey, the traditional unceded lands of the Lenape native tribal peoples, on this sunny July summer day. I am a white American Muslim of Bosnian and Anglo ancestry, and am wearing a blue ocean themed Hawaiian shirt with my blue kufi or cap covering my head and salt and pepper hair. I have a short trimmed salt and pepper beard. Today I join with you in celebrating the signing into law of the Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA, some 32 years ago. Jonathan Young, chair of the National Council on Disability, has observed that, quote, "The ADA has been an enormous and singular success in resetting what our expectations and attitudes are. Yet, dear sisters and brothers, the resetting of our attitudes and expectations has not been experienced equally or trickled down to all our communities. An estimated 61 million adults in the United States live with a disability, and roughly 1 in 4 adults in the US have some type of a disability. Roughly 1 in 3 Muslim Americans, not unlike our fellow Americans from other faiths and no faiths, has an immediate member of our family with a mental or physical disability. Looking more closely at the diverse Muslim American community, we see a religious minority often marginalized and alienated from the larger American society, owing to stereotyping and Islamophobia. American Muslims are more likely to be people of color, living, working, praying, and playing in America's racially stratified society. As such, someone who is Muslim, disabled, a person of color, and a woman may face a much higher risk of discrimination than someone else, which can lead to further alienation from the community and society at large. Let us be clear. In Islam, a person's worth is based not on any physical or material characteristics, but on taqwa, God consciousness, personal piety, and amr bil ma'ruf wa nahy anil munkar. That means doing the right thing. The inherent dignity and nobility of all human beings, as found in Islam's teachings, is that all human beings have been infused with the soul from the divine, the creator, Allah, God in the Arabic language, and in the language of the Quran, described as karamna bani Adam. The Quran seeks to remove any stigma for people with disabilities and theoretically should remove all barriers to inclusion. Yet, full inclusion for many Muslims with disabilities remains an unfulfilled reality. And Muslim religious and community leaders need to make this important work as an integral part of their respective communities' agendas and systematically seek to address and seriously take on as a regular part of their teachings and work. The Islamic Society of North America, the oldest and largest national Muslim umbrella organization, which I serve as the head of their Office for Interfaith and Community Alliances and Government Relations in Washington, D.C., has been active in calling attention to this important issue for a number of years. As we look to next steps and the ways in which the strong foundational legal framework put in place by the ADA can be enhanced to better serve its mission and the needs of specific faith-based communities, Muslims with disabilities are having to contend with varying levels of discrimination and disadvantage that need to be addressed by service systems. As an example, there is a need for proper bilingual service providers and assessment tools that are culturally sensitive and valid. Religious cultural factors both limit and facilitate attitudinal factors and lead to positive opportunities for Muslims and others with disabilities. This would allow many Muslims and Muslim communities, both the religious and lay leaders, to seek and be able to more easily access mainstream services and supports provided for through the ADA. Our community can only holistically grow if everyone participates.
Hello, I'm Michael Curry, presiding bishop of the Episcopal Church. The Americans with Disabilities Act was a transforming piece of legislation that, in many respects and literally, began the process of transforming the landscape of this country, buildings, attitudes, transforming the landscape of this country so that accessibility and room for all is becoming the norm of who we are as the American people. The motto of the United States, as you well know from the Great Seal, is E pluribus unum. From many, one becomes possible. The Americans with Disabilities Act put us on the pathway to making E pluribus unum true for us in this country. And that work must continue. That work must go on until there is room and space with equity, equality, justice, and liberty for us all. And when that day comes, then the words of the old Negro spiritual sung by slaves who longed for room for themselves will come true. There's plenty good room, plenty good room, plenty good room for all God's children. Thank God that the American with Disabilities Act has made that more possible and true for us in this great country. And may the work go on and continue. Thank you, and God bless you.
Hello, I'm Lindsay Warburton, a policy advisor with the Episcopal Church and co-chair of the Interfaith Disability Advocacy Coalition. In the Episcopal tradition, we end our Holy Eucharist with a call to go out to love and serve the Lord. In that spirit, I call on those watching today to commit to taking action to support the rights and dignity of people with disabilities. Educate yourself on disability issues, uplift the voices of Black, Brown, and LGBTQ folks, find and get involved with a disability organization, help get out the vote, or call and write your elected officials. Tell them how important disability issues are. Any one of these actions is so important. So make your voice heard, and let's continue the fight for a more inclusive world. Thank you.